Welcome to IT by SHK. I am SHK with you. You are in Computer Hardware course. RAM. Memory is the workspace for the processor. It is a temporary storage area where the programs and data being operated on by the processor must reside. But before that, please subscribe this YouTube channel. Press bell button and enable all alerts. Please share this video and channel with all your friends and family members. Memory storage is considered temporary because the data and programs remain there as long as the computer has electrical power or is not reset before the computer is shut down or reset. Any data that has been changed in memory should be saved in a more permanent storage device, usually a hard disk, so it can be loaded into memory in the future. Main memory is normally called random access memory because you can randomly as opposed to sequentially access any location. This designation is somewhat misleading, often misinterpreted. Read-only memory, or ROM, for example, is also randomly accessible. Yet it is usually differentiated from the system because it maintains data without power and can't normally be written to. The hard disk can be used as virtual random access memory. We do not consider that from either. Over the years, the definition of RAM has changed from a simple acronym to become something that means the primary memory workspace the processor uses to run programs, which usually is constructed out of a type of chip called dynamic RAM. One of the characteristics of DRAM chips, and therefore most types of RAM in general, is that it stores the data dynamically, which really has two meanings. One meaning is that the information can be written to RAM repeatedly at any time. DRAM requires the data to be refreshed every few milliseconds or so. Faster RAM requires refreshing more often than slower RAM. A type of RAM called static RAM does not require the periodic refreshing. An important characteristic of RAM in general is that data is stored only as long as the memory has electrical power. When we talk about a computer's memory, we usually mean the RAM or physical memory in the system, which are the memory chips or modules the processor uses to store primary active programs and data. This is confused with the term storage, which should be used when referring to things such as disk drives. RAM can either be referred to the physical chips that make up the memory in the system, and the logical mapping and layout of that memory. Logical mapping and layout refer to how the memory addresses are mapped to actual chips and what address locations contain which types of system information. Memory temporarily stores programs when they are running along with the data being used by those programs. RAM chips are sometimes termed volatile storage because when you turn off your computer or an electrical outage occurs, whatever is stored there is lost unless you save it to your hard drive. Because of the volatile nature of RAM, many computer users make it a habit to save the work frequently. A habit I recommend. Many software applications perform periodic saves automatically to minimize the potential for data loss. Physically, the main memory in a system is a collection of chips or modules containing chips that are usually plugged into the motherboard. These chips or modules in the electrical and physical designs and must be compatible with the system and to which they are being installed to function properly. In dual-rank DIMM, dual inline memory module, two complete 64-bit wide chips logically stacked so that the memory module is twice as deep. This requires chips to be on both sides of the module. Therefore, the term double-sided often indicates that a module has two rungs of tension as two are on the chip. Single-rank modules, often known as 1R, have chips physically mounted on one side of the memory module. SPD RAM use a completely different type of presence detect, called serial presence detect or SPD. The serial presence detect is information stored on a double EEPROM, or electronically erasable programmable read-only memory chip when a computer is booted. It is located on the RAM module and communicates to the BIOS the module size, data width, speed and voltage, which are used to configure the module memory controller. For maximum reliability and performance, RAM is a very important consideration when building a gaming PC because it is an active participant while gaming. While the processor and graphics card do all the calculations, the RAM store needed variables and content. The RAM is an active participant because once the game is loaded into it, information is constantly being read and stored. The processor and graphics card request information from the memory, do the calculations and store the results back into the RAM. If you're wondering why RAM is being used instead of the hard drive directly, it's because it is a lot faster and is meant to store temporary items, that is, game files, programs, etc. If you install one stick of RAM in your computer and boot the PC, it will be running in a single channel configuration. If 2 sticks of RAM are installed, they would be running in a dual configuration. Same goes for 4 sticks of RAM. They could be running in a quad-channel configuration. Quad-channel configuration depend on whether or not the motherboard chipset supports quad-channel memory. Typically, the modern configuration is dual-channel, even though 2 or 4 sticks of memory is installed. A memory bottleneck implies that the system does not have sufficient or fast enough RAM. This situation cuts the speed at which RAM can serve information to the CPU, which slows overall operations. In cases where the system doesn't have enough memory, the computer will start offloading storage to a significantly slower hard drive or SSD to keep things running. Alternatively, if the RAM cannot serve data to the CPU fast enough, the device will experience both slowdown and low CPU usage rates. Main memory typically is installed in the form of dual inline memory modules, DIMMs. Current motherboards use memory in single, dual or quad-channel modes. In single-channel mode, each 64-bit wide DIMM is accessed individually, whereas in dual or tri-channel mode, the modules accessed in multiples of 2 or 3 for higher performance. If you want to take advantage of the faster multi-channel modes, make sure you purchase and install memory modules in much multiples. Some memory modules are available with an extra error check bit for each 8 bits. These are called ECC, Error Correcting Code, modules. ECC support is normally found only in server-type processors and motherboards and is rarely found in standard PCs. If you want to install the more expensive ECC modules in your system, make sure that your processor and the motherboard provide the necessary support. But before that, please subscribe this YouTube channel. Press bell button, and enable all alerts. Please share this video and channel with all your friends and family members. Bye from Sorat.